¿A dónde está papi? 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 Welcome to the Monday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Monday. Welcome, everybody. Cosmic Seeking, how's it going? Welcome. Alio, how's it going? Greetings and hello. Conscious Canuck, ready for more a difficult news commentary from our favorite slayer of internet chuds. That's my goal. Still waiting for that ban. Oh man, I suspect you'll be waiting for a long time then. Folks, we are back. It is nice to be back. I have been feeling a bit under the weather, but that's okay. Um, but that is a-okay. Today, Bakita came from the vet. It seems like she's okay. No outright signs of anything being wrong. So I guess we'll just keep an eye out. Just keep an eye on her. But yeah, I myself have been under the weather all day yesterday, and a little bit today. I've been feeling better, but yesterday was pretty bad. So we'll try to get through as much of the as much through the news as possible. I'm hoping Trump is in deep shit. I think he is. I think he is this time. I do think he is this time. Aren't we all under the weather? If we were over the weather, we'd be in low orbit. But true. All right, so we'll try to get through as much of this as possible. Sorry I wasn't able to stream as much last week. Schedule has been rough, so it is what it is. Trump is truthing too much. Is he? I mean, like, I know that I have a lot of coffee mint today, so don't mind me. Truth. Asking for money donations. Just 3 hours ago, in all caps, how can my corrupt political opponent put me on trial? S. During a campaign that I'm winning by a lot. He's not. Right now, the campaign, as it stands, is actually pretty close tie. It's a pretty close tie, which is bad, by the way. It's not great. It's not good, but he's not winning, and certainly not winning by a lot. That's literally just made up. To spend time and money away from the campaign trail in order to fight bogus accusations and charges. Well, it wouldn't be bogus accusations and charges if a grand jury, who had to be selected and then had to view all the evidence, and then make a decision as to whether or not to proceed. So no, no, right. The people are putting you on trial. That's how it works, right? Like, to think and to frame this as like political opponent putting me on trial is just completely disingenuous, because that's not how the legal system works. Okay, like, President Biden isn't the one doing this, right? That's not how this works at all. Trump is behaving like a mobster and racketeer. Yeah. Projection, right? Because that's what he would do. Remember, lock her up. Lock her up. If I was president, you'd be in jail. I remember that. I remember that. Trump does not like the Dark Brandon. Well, Dark Brandon is nowhere to be found. Your face is tidier? Well, yeah, I shaved. Unless Trump contracted the Martin Sheen disease. Oh, yeah, Charlie Sheen? Three days ago, he retruthed his own truth, I guess. I'm sorry, whatever, his own post. He reposted his own post, because I can't call it truth, because it's not true. Because what he's saying isn't true, but his social media company is called True Social. Anyways, isn't it terrible that a political opponent can haphazardly charge you with fake crimes? No, they're not fake crimes. They're pretty real crimes on the books. In the middle of your campaign, in order to interfere with your Yeah, like again, Joe Biden didn't do this. Joe Biden didn't like tell the DOJ to do this. Okay. Um. Yeah. They had 2.5 years to file long before the campaign started. Well, the investigations weren't even done by then. So the investigations into these crimes weren't even done by then. Like a lot of these things take time. A lot of these things take time, especially if you're going to bring charges against the former president. If you're going to bring charges against the former president, you better come fucking correct. You better come with like all the receipts. Like the receipts must be like CVS. The receipts must look like a CVS receipt, okay? That's how much proof you should be presenting. So much so that like in all of these cases, the grand jury voted to indict him in all the situations that he's found himself in. All of them. At this point, between state and felony charges, I think he's like 70 something, 70 plus. I think I've heard more Clinton this and Obama that and Hunter Biden more in the last 2 weeks, more so than in the last 6 months. Yeah, it's probably the heavy doses of copium that are necessary to deal with this. That's probably what we're seeing. Hello, person that's been banned in certain accounts. We'll see how long you last. The more important tweet or post then we need to go over is the one where he threatens. He makes a pretty explicit threat. If I can find it. What do you support? Objective reality. That's a good answer. That's what I support. Objective reality. Hey, Heat, how's it going? Geez, so many posts in all caps. Alright, I'm just trying to scroll down, see if I could find the post that I'm trying to find. Echo Wrestle Dragon, how's it going? The judge should slap a gagging order on Trump with big fines for breaches. Yeah, I mean, like the dude straight up issued a threat. So yeah. And there's like 0% chance that this dude doesn't violate a gag order. If he got a gag order, 0% chance he doesn't violate it. Oh, I found it. Alright, I'll just bring it up. Yeah, his keyboard is constantly on caps lock. That's literally how he truce. Just detain him until trial. He's not gonna listen. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely not gonna listen. If he gets a gag order tomorrow, he's gonna violate it that day, guaranteed. He's got a gag warning. It took him 24 hours for him to crap. Yeah. Like I said, he'll violate a gag order that day. No surprise there. No surprise. Former President Trump's legal team has proposed more lax rules than those sought by prosecutors of what he can do with evidence he has provided. Nah, fuck that. In a new court filing, Trump's lawyers lean heavily into claims that special counsel prosecutors are on politically motivated campaign to restrict his First Amendment rights. In a trial about First Amendment rights, the government seeks to restrict. Nah, this isn't a trial about First Amendment rights. That's not how that. That's not what this is about. Yeah, nah, I don't see that flying. I don't see that flying at all. I saw a conspiracy that Trump wants to get put in jail to increase his popularity. I don't think so. I mean, like, what good does it do? I mean, like, maybe there's some truth to that in the sense that he thinks that nothing is going to happen to him. But the fact that all this is going down, he thinks that he can use this. He thinks that he can use this to his ability, to his advantage, I should say. Maybe there's an angle to explore there, but no, I don't think he actually wants to go to jail. I don't think he wants to go to jail. I think that he's so narcissistic that he thinks that nothing is going to happen to him. He got mad that the judge referred him to him as Mr. Trump. Excuse me. It's former president. Former president. How's it going, bipedal meatbag? If he legit loses, he's going to play martyr for sure. Right, like that's exactly the point. Because if he loses these court cases, then it's the deep state coming after him. The deep state is working completely against him. If he loses the election, then it's rigged. So in any case, he's got his ultimate answer. He's the victim. He's the martyr. He said in his speech that he wants one more indictment to make him a winner. Yeah, because like he's able to use this at least for his base. At least for his base, he's using this to be more popular within the base, which is expected, right? But that's not going to translate past that, right? It's going to rile up support within his base, but it's not going to really pass that. No, I don't think so. He's hoping his fame and money and political status will insulate him, but he's afraid it won't. Yeah, I don't think it will. Not this time. I don't think it will. I don't think it will this time. I think he's cooked for real. I think he's cooked for real this time. I think he's cooked. Like, the only thing I could think of is that he might play off that angle because he thinks that nothing's going to actually happen to him, but nah. I think he's done. I think he's done for real. Yeah, tails you lose, heads I win. Exactly. The Dems need to get crafty. The Dems need to just get. The Dems need to just get. Like, just do something. Just do something. Never underestimate the Democrats' ability to fumble at a perfectly winnable opportunity, or perfectly winnable scenario. So that's a whole other problem. All right. So I guess this is where we'll start just really quickly. So as we all went through, Trump has been indicted again, and supposedly there might be another indictment with the Georgia case. In which case we'll see whether or not more charges, more another indictment gets to happen. That's why I'm glad the Dems are not involved in the trials at all. To be fair, a lot of the evidence has, to be fair, a good chunk of like the evidence has been provided and kind of motivated the investigations to even begin, came from the January 6 hearings. So yay. But yeah, like, see the difference between like you if you want to see like the difference between like what happens when the Dems actually do what they're supposed to do, like the January 6 hearings and investigations definitely played a part in the investigations that got prompted because of the evidence that they gathered and then forwarded to the DOJ, which actually has led now to a bunch of indictments. Versus like the investigations and hearings into Hunter Biden, the Republicans admitted like last week that they actually had no evidence, no palpable evidence to link any wrongdoing by President Biden with his son Hunter. Like they just don't have it. They don't have any evidence. So they've been screaming about like Hunter Biden and Joe Biden for weeks now. Up to and including showing dick pics in the House floor. But all they got is literally just that. It's Hunter Biden like partying too much and being like caught with like tax fraud or some shit, which he had to plead guilty to anyways. But they admitted that they had no evidence of any type of corruption that involved Biden and Hunter Biden and all that story. And that was wall to wall coverage on right wing media for a while, and it all amounted to nothing. It all amounted to nothing. I mean, like, I'm sure that if you really wanted to find like actual evidence of Biden, like of corruption from Joe Biden, I'm sure it's there. But that wasn't it. Okay, that wasn't it. Instead, we had Hunter Biden dick pics and like wall-to-wall coverage about the Biden crime family with no evidence. Versus the Dem House committee, the January 6th committee produced a ton of fucking evidence, forwarded it to the DOJ, and brought fucking indictments, like solid indictments that are going to trial. Whoa. Do y'all see that? The lights are flickering behind me. Oh boy. Well, I guess I'll say it now before anything happens. Looks like there's a really bad storm outside, so if the power goes out, it is what it is. So just in case, folks, it's okay. If the power goes out, it is what it is. If I'm unable to continue, it is what it is. Yeah, the lights behind me were flickering. So, yeah, if the power goes out, it is what it is. If it doesn't, we'll keep going. The GOP needs both sides material to offset the ocean of Trump corruption. They're not finding any. It's driving them completely around the bend. Right. And like the one thing that they possibly had was nothing. Like, I'm pretty sure it's not that hard to find, Biden, evidence on Biden corruption. Right? Like, I mean, it's not, Oh man, did the circus end early today? Did the circus end early today? Opinions on Brexit? I don't know much about foreign policy, but like from my understanding, it was a complete failure. So much so that even like the conservatives admit it. So, I mean, it is what it is. Opinions on immigration. Why does that matter in America? Yeah, I think so. I think so too. You don't have a non-interruptible power supply. I have a battery that will keep the internet alive. I have a battery that will keep the internet alive for a bit, maybe a couple of hours. And my laptop has battery? Question mark? Maybe, but everything else, I'll have to fire up the generator for that. I don't know what you said, but fair play. You don't know what I said. You don't understand the words that are coming. Like, opinion on immigration. What does that have to do with anything? What does that even matter in America? That only works if the internet itself stays alive. Oh yeah, like if the internet is done, it's done. But at least I'll have at least I have a method of continuing power. For a moment. Are you wasting your last bit of power on Twitch streaming? True. That's exactly what I'm doing. Biden was VP for 8 years and senator for 37 years. If Biden committed crimes, it should have been discovered by now. Yeah, but I mean, it's not inconceivable. It's not inconceivable to imagine that Biden hasn't engaged in any corruption, right? Like it's not inconceivable, right? Like they're politicians. They're politicians, right? Like it's not inconceivable that, like, if today you told me that Biden was found in a scandal of corruption with some whatever ex corruption, wouldn't be exactly surprising. Hey, Michael Hessler, way to make an entrance. Thank you. Appreciate it. The proof is helpful. Right. If you're going to make these accusations, if you're gonna make these accusations, then you probably should come with receipts, right? Like, if you're gonna make these accusations, you should probably come with receipts. I'm just saying that the Republicans have not come up with receipts. In fact, they admitted so. And but I'm saying, like, if they really wanted to, I'm sure they could. It wouldn't be out of pocket to find. Like I said, if you were to tell me today that Biden got caught in some kind of corruption, whatever, like, it wouldn't surprise me. That's all I'm saying. It wouldn't shock me. If you get Starlink, the internet would be bomb-proof. Yeah, I'm not really, like, down to give, Elmo any of my money. I'm good. Hey, Ambulance, how's it going? Hey, Abon, how's it going? We have the same proofs for this as we have aliens. True. Trust Rudy with a laptop. Ha! Anyways, point being is, Republicans didn't really produce any evidence. In fact, they admitted so. The problem is 98% of what normal people call corruption is 100% legal in the US. Yeah, I mean, that's true. That's true. Alright, so the lights flickered and it seems like we're okay. Alright, so we'll just power on. Power through. Alright, so this is what I was talking about. I was scrolling down to find this. This is pretty explicit, right? Like, this is some, like, mobster shit. In all caps, exactly. In all caps. If you go after me, I'm coming after you. Like, that's pretty explicit, like, threatening the fucking prosecutors. I mean, they absolutely should issue some kind of order against this guy. Because it's not just him, it's his cult. That's the problem. It's his cult. Right? Because like people read this people read this and will take action on this. That's the problem. His cult will read this and take it as a call to action, right? Imagine Trump on the campaign trail with a gag order. Right, like so much so that even like I was watching Fox, the five, the five clowns, and one of them said if they issue some type of gag order, this would be disastrous because that's all Trump talks about, and that's part of like his main crux of his campaign, which is quite telling. So like the campaign isn't about policy. The campaign isn't about making people's lives better. The campaign is about martyrdom. That's not mobster, that's a sandbox bully. Yeah, I mean, he just reminds me of a mobster the way he talks, right? Right. This is not about First Amendment. This is not about the First Amendment at all. The only way would be to detain him. Yep. Didn't he already violate the order to not threaten witnesses? Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising. I don't know. It wouldn't be surprising. He can be president from prison. Yes, theoretically. Theoretically? Theoretically, yes. They'll just say a gag order for Trump is legal entrapment because he cannot comply with it. What's that supposed to be? War painted a flag on his face? I don't know. He's had this ridiculous profile picture, right? Good lord. I didn't even notice that. Trump's campaign is I'm king and only I can save the country. Then he'll pardon himself. That's where we get into some legal gray area, okay? We don't know if he can. We don't know if he can pardon himself. That's that'll be something that if we end up crossing that bridge, I guess we'll find out. If in the event that somehow he wins the primary, which that's likely. He wins the Republican primary. Okay, that's likely. But then he wins the general election and becomes president. That at that point we'll find out. But I don't know. That's where we'll be in a lot of different gray areas if that were to happen. The judge should use $1 million fines to shut him up. It won't. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit. Canada, here we come. The biggest thing Trump is worried about is regarding being in prison is no 24/7 toilet truthing. True. Although he can probably sneak in the phone, right? He's got enough money. He's got enough money. Anyways, that's the point of this whole entire conversation. This dude needs to be like detained or immediately like some type of order put on this guy. Because these are explicit threats. There's no There's no ambiguity here. And the point is to rile up his base. Nah, I'm not sure I'll allow that cosmic seeking. I'm good on that. And like he knows that his cult members he knows that his cult members will take action, right? Or does he? True. That's debatable. I'd say the best thing in what history used to do is exile. He likes North Korea. True. He should be exiled to the place he sends love letters to or whatever. Can this be used against him in his trial? Because this is his exact MO. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure they're gonna pull up a lot of his own words and a lot of his own tweets and a lot of his own posts. I'm pretty sure that like all that's gonna come out. I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, this is ridiculous. After an indictment, can you imagine knowing that you have a really big following, knowing that you were a former president with a lot of sway and like a lot of cult members that would do anything for you? I went to the county fair where I am, and I saw a Republican booth, a booth selling flags including "Don't Tread on Me" and a guy wearing a shirt saying "Try that in a small town." Yikes. Yikes. Giga yikes. His only chance is re-election. The case is a slam dunk. Yeah. I think the case is pretty solid, and it better be. It better be. If you're charging an ex-president with the crimes that are being alleged, you better come with some freaking like hard evidence. And like I was saying, your receipts must be as long as a CVS receipt, okay? If you're gonna do this, if you're gonna take the unprecedented action of like moving forward with trying to present evidence to a grand jury so that they can vote on whether or not to indict a former president, which has never been done before, I mean, like you better have the receipts, and I suspect that's probably the case. That's probably the case, and that's why they moved forward. He can't pardon himself for the crimes in New York and GA. True. Those are state. I tell the racists that after the Montgomery Brawl, the same thing. Can't be pardoned in GA at all, if I remember. Yes, because it's a state issue. They didn't use the word in the latest indictment, but what he is being accused of is treason. Yes, essentially. Because, like, think about it. He's being accused of essentially stopping the transfer of power, of interfering with a congressional act or something like that, and defrauding the United States. Oh, the GA's governor doesn't have pardon power? Oh, really? Huh. So he's like done. If he gets convicted on that, if he gets indicted and then trial goes and he gets convicted, he's done on that one. All right, so keep this in your pocket. Because we're gonna go back to that. Over 73 felony charges unless the jury and overturned on the appeal. Then why does Trump want SCOTUS or Senate to erase the charges? Yeah, I mean, they don't... now I want pizza. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, he can appeal. He can appeal, but... oh, man, he better have the receipts. Which, if he gets a conviction, I mean... That's tough. That's tough.
Look around. Over the last few days, nearly 2/3 of the population of the United States has been living under either a flood warning watch.
Also, does he mean personally? Because that doesn't scare me. Maybe if he sent goons. What, the threat? The threat that he put on Truth Social? That's the thing. That's the thing. It's implicit, right? It's stochastic terrorism. It's implicit. He knows that his he knows that his supporters, his cult members, would take action. Oh yeah, you know what makes me want to watch? What makes me want to watch links that are banned in chat? Yeah, when people fucking call me names, that'll make me want to watch that.
Or heat advisory. Temperatures in the Atlantic Ocean are the highest ever recorded. Wildfires are ravaging parts of Greece. A typhoon has forced tens of thousands of people from their homes in Beijing, and July is on track to be the hottest month in recorded history. Meanwhile, the latest report from the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change...
No, I don't want to. Fuck off. I actually don't want to now.
The IPCC is very clear and it is very foreboding. If the United States, China, and the rest of the world do not act extremely aggressively in cutting carbon emissions, our planet will face enormous and irreversible damage. Let me be clear about that last part. If the entire planet, led by the largest economies in the world, the United States and China, does not get its act together, the world that we will be leaving our children and future generations will be increasingly unhealthy and uninhabitable. What makes this issue so difficult and so complicated is that it is a crisis that no individual nation can solve alone for its own people. It is a global crisis. It is an issue that requires the cooperation of every nation on earth. Whether we like it or not, we are all in this together. Just one example. Despite the frightening impact of climate change on the United States, highly populated Asian countries are facing even worse challenges. Sea levels on China's coastline are rising more quickly than the global average. Major cities like Shanghai, Tianjin, and Shenzhen are all located along the Chinese coast and could face catastrophic flooding in years to come, creating havoc with the entire Chinese economy. There are projections that Shanghai, a city of 24 million people, could be underwater by the end of the century. Now, the bad news is that developing a mutually beneficial relationship with China to save the future of this planet will not be easy. Sadly, pathetically, there are hawks in both countries who are working hard to create a new Cold War. The good news is that we still have time, the United States, China, and other countries around the world, to make the decision to act aggressively in combating climate change and preventing irreparable damage to our country and the entire planet. While we must work diligently to foster international cooperation on climate change, we must also do something else. In the United States and around the world, we must ask a very simple question. How did we get here? How did we get to a place in time where the health and well-being of the entire planet and the lives of billions of people is under enormous threat? And the answer to that question is not complicated. The truth is that the scientific community for many decades has made it crystal clear that climate change and all the dangers it poses in terms of drought, floods, extreme weather disturbances, and disease is the result of carbon emissions from the fossil fuel industry. As far back as the late 1950s, over 60 years ago, physicist Edward Teller and other scientists were warning executives in the fossil fuel industry that carbon emissions were, quote, contaminating the atmosphere and causing a greenhouse effect that could eventually lead to temperature increases, quote, sufficient to melt the ice cap and submerge New York, end quote.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, I want to believe you, Barry, but I think they're just pushing the work for God to solve. Yeah, I mean, like, no serious decision makers at this point in time are putting forth the necessary action on any playing field at any point. Bernie's out there doing his thing, and Bernie's correct here. But I mean, he can propose legislation tomorrow. It's not going to go anywhere. Did anyone see Senator Whitehouse' most recent floor speech about the oceans? I thought it was a real damn moment. No, I have not. Bernie has been too quiet lately. Yeah, I mean, he's telling the truth here. He's telling the truth. It just doesn't matter, unfortunately, because again, he could propose legislation tomorrow. It's not going to go anywhere.
That's what they were saying 60 years ago. In 1975, Shellback research concluded that increasing atmospheric carbon concentrations could cause global temperature increases that would drive, quote, major climatic changes, end quote, and compared the dangers of burning fossil fuels to nuclear waste. Beginning in the late 1970s, Exxon, now ExxonMobil, conducted extensive research on climate change that predicted current rising temperatures correctly and skillfully.
Yeah, and they knew this from the 70s. They knew this from the 70s. Oh.
The fossil fuel corporations knew. They knew they were causing global warming and therefore threatening the very existence of the planet. Yet, in pursuit of profit, fossil fuel executives not only refused to publicly acknowledge what they had learned, but year after year lied about the existential threat that climate change posed for our planet. So what happened to the CEOs who betrayed the American people and the global economy?
They got rich as fuck. That's what happened. He's aging where I've never seen this much of his neck before. I mean, he's getting old. He's getting up there.
Were they fired from their jobs? Were they condemned by pundits on cable television and the editorial boards of major newspapers? Were they prosecuted? Did they go to jail for their crimes? Nope, not at all, not on one of them. The reality is these CEOs simply got richer and richer. It is obscene. When a criminal walks into a store and shoots the clerk behind the counter, we make the moral judgment that this behavior is socially unacceptable and that gunman should be punished. When
82 in a month and a day. Wow.
a public official misuses and steals taxpayer money, we make the moral judgment that that embezzler should lose his or her job and perhaps be incarcerated. Yet when fossil fuel executives make calculated decisions that are life-threatening to billions of people or to the entire planet, we are told that it's just business. No.
True. I like where he's going with that. Yeah, and it is a calculated decision because he just pointed out that these companies knew from their own studies for decades of what this would do, of where this was going. They knew, and they made that decision regardless. So they made a conscious decision. So this isn't like a whoopsie, oh, we didn't know what we were doing. No, you had the information. You did the studies yourself. You made a conscious decision to put us in this position. So yeah, they should be held accountable.
No, that is not acceptable. That is why earlier this week I sent a letter to Attorney General Merrick Garland urging him to bring lawsuits against the fossil fuel industry for its long-standing and carefully coordinated campaign to mislead consumers and discredit climate science in pursuit of massive profits. That letter was co-signed by Senators Merkley, Warren, and Markey. Like the tobacco industry before him, the actions of ExxonMobil, Shell, and potentially other fossil fuel companies represent a clear violation of federal racketeering laws, truth in advertising laws, consumer protection laws, and potentially other laws. And the Department of Justice must act swiftly to hold these companies accountable for their unlawful actions. More than 40 states and municipalities have filed lawsuits that seek to hold the fossil fuel industry accountable for their illegal campaign of misinformation around the global crisis of climate change. The Department of Justice must join the fight and work with partners at the Federal Trade Commission and other law enforcement agencies to file suits against all those who participated in the fossil fuel industry's illegal conspiracy of lies and deception. The fossil fuel industry must begin to pay for the extraordinary damage they are causing. Climate change is an existential threat to every man, woman, and child on Earth. At every level, in every country, we must act boldly and aggressively to save the planet for our kids and future generations. Let us go forward together. Thank you.
Based. Not going to change until CEOs start seeing prison. Yep.
The ocean, last year, the ocean absorbed the equivalent of 7 Hiroshima bombs detonating every second in the ocean. Every second of every day for the entire year, 7 nuclear detonations worth of heat into our oceans per second. Water temperatures in Florida have hit records reaching as high as 101 degrees. That's not the air temperature, that's the ocean temperature. That's actually the recommended temperature for a hot tub. Indeed, that's the midpoint of the jacuzzi company's recommended range for its hot tub temperatures for healthy adults. Now, doctors recommend that children under the age of 5 avoid hot tubs over 95 degrees, and pregnant women are advised to stay out of water once it gets much above 100 degrees. So the ocean off Florida is almost too hot for many humans. Mr. President, this is the 289th time that I have come to the Senate floor with my increasingly battered time to wake up chart to stir this chamber to act on climate change. Since 2016, I have been talking about the zettajoule. The zettajoule is the measure of how much fossil fuel emissions are heating up our oceans. In this season of extreme, record-smashing heat touching all 50 states, it is wild that elected representatives in Washington still
Just should say we're screwed. Yep. Come to Florida. We have natural hot tubs.
choose to insulate themselves from reality, a reality measured in zettajoules. A zettajoule is a number almost beyond comprehension in its size. 1 joule, Joule, is our standard unit of energy, and it applies to heat energy. A zettajoule is 1 joule with 21 zeros behind it.
It
is a
that's a lot.
truly massive number. In a 2019 Time to Wake Up speech, I reported that more than 9 zettajoules of heat energy was being added to the ocean annually. Since then, I've come to the floor with an updated number. Our oceans are absorbing around 14 zettajoules of excess heat every year. Let's put that in context. The total energy consumption of all humankind amounts to about 1/2 of a zettajoule of energy per year. That means that for the fossil fuel component of that 1/2 of a zettajoule of energy, we pay the price of 14 added zettajoules of heat into the ocean
that is literally
every year.
Incomprehensible.
Said another way, we load into our Earth's oceans every year nearly 30 times the entire energy use of the entire species on the entire planet. That is a big magnification. If this is the zettajoules of excess heat absorbed into the oceans every year, that dot is the average annual energy consumption of the human species on the planet. For the price of the fossil fuel component of that, mankind's entire energy consumption in zettajoules, we suffer that load of heat energy going into the oceans.
Yeah, we aren't doing that. He should be specific, right? Like, I know what he's saying by, like, making that kind of general term, but I totally understand. It should be the fossil fuel industry, the fossil fuel CEOs, the Shell CEO, the ExxonMobil CEO. Name fucking names. They're not that many. They're not that many. So I completely understand. I agree with you. They're not that many.
Almost too hot for humans means definitely too hot for many ocean creatures.
Yes, the agriculture industry too.
Particularly ocean corals. Coral reefs matter because they support 1/4 of all known marine species. Florida has the largest coral reef ecosystem in the continental United States, the 3rd largest living barrier coral reef in the world. If you don't care about creatures and only care about money, well, Florida's protected waters contribute billions of tourism dollars to the Florida economy. All of that is in jeopardy in this heat. According to NOAA, when temperatures reach 1 degree Celsius, or about 2 degrees Fahrenheit warmer than normal, corals cross what is called their bleaching threshold. That is where they turn white as they evulse the living creatures that keep them alive, and that is a step on the way to death. That is bad news, considering that temperatures around Florida have been running 5 degrees above normal. And
yeah, it's pretty sad. The reefs are being affected in Belize and Costa Rica. That's frustrating. That's messed up. That's all because like a handful of people want to get more richer and don't give a flying fuck doing so.
The longer this goes on, the more trouble corals will have recovering. This is not just happening in the United States, it is worldwide. This summer, most of the oceans on planet Earth have at least a 70% chance of experiencing what are called marine heat wave conditions. The effects of marine heat waves read like biblical plagues: decreased oxygen, dead zones, fish die-offs. And then come the weather effects. Droughts in some places, and increasingly deadly and dangerous storms in others, because our oceans drive our weather on this planet. We need to head off climate change at the oil spigot. That means taking on the fossil fuel industry's increasingly desperate lies and its well-funded political juggernaut that does such evil in this building.
True.
We know how to solve this problem. We just don't do it.
True.
Because fossil fuel fingers creep through so many corners of the Capitol. In the time it took me to deliver this speech, around 6,000 Hiroshima bombs of excess heat energy were put into our oceans. Every day, it's getting worse. We completely underestimate how bad things are going to get. Completely. Even people who care about climate change and believe that it's real and aren't in tow to the fossil fuel industry and its dark money, they still completely underestimate how bad this is going to get. And the tragedy is, it has always been preventable. Simply by moving to a productive, economically valuable, clean energy future and stopping our indulgence of fossil fuel pollution and obstruction.
True. That's a very good point, Firefly. The people he's trying to convince don't care at all. Like, not at all. They've known for decades and made the choices to not act all this time for their own gain. Right? They've made conscious decisions. Regardless, he gets up there, as he said repeatedly, to urge action. But yeah, I think even he acknowledges that the fossil fuel industry has its, influence everywhere, including the Senate, all the way up to President, as Abon just pointed out. It's up to us, the rest of us. I can't say more because of TOS. Yep. The Trump response link. Oh, the protective order. Did he really post this? That's hilarious. Wait, how's this a response to Trump? Wait, how's this a response before? How does this have anything to do? He's talking about coffee. This has nothing to do. Whatever. That's important for that message to be seen on the record for what it's worth. Yep. At this point, it's also because the rest of the economy is not moving fast enough to mitigate the effects as well. We have emerging, re-emerging technologies and processes which can help mitigate the problem. We just need to scale them up now. Yeah, which I'm sure that we could. And also, and also, like, if we actually cared about solving this problem, we would have worked on that years ago, right? We're so behind. We would have worked on that years ago. Unless this post is like meant to troll Trump, because this is the morning of his arraignment. He posted like, "Oh, coffee never tasted better." Is that it? Is that the meme? I don't know how this is going to be like a response to a protective order, which is only a response to the threat that he made. Anyways. I should send him a lemon pound cake, but I don't think he would get the reference.
If what is going on with climate change heat going into our oceans is not enough to wake us up, I do not know what will. It is certainly time to wake up. I yield the floor.
Yep. See, that's the kind of attitude that I want people to have. Exactly, Firefly. The attitude is to accept and acknowledge the severity of the problem, but instead using that kind of doomer energy to channel it to activate yourself and do something with it. Because, you know, it should make you feel doomer. It should make you feel angry. It should make you feel, you know, anxious. But we can channel that into action. Because a problem, a problem would be is if that doomer mentality turns you apathetic. And that's a far scarier scenario, because if the people that acknowledge the problem and see the severity of the issue for what it is become apathetic, then we really are fucked. Okay? But yes, I agree with you. This is worse than if Dr. Evil was real. At least Dr. Evil would name a ransom we could pay him to stop destroying the world. Right, in this case, they are ransoming us. In this case, it's the other way around. They're ransoming us. They're literally holding the planet hostage, exploiting it for their gain, for their greed. For all these CEOs, greed, from the fossil fuel industry to the agriculture industry. Correct. Capitalism run amok. Correct. The reason nobody moves is that a lot of publicly traded corporations would lose value. As a result, the stock market would double and start to decline. No, line must only go up, okay? If line goes down, bad. It's a disease, no other way to put it, to keep doing what they're doing, and not only that, but go even harder at doing it, knowing what it's going to do to them too. It's sickness at that level of greed. Right, but they think, these big, oligarchs and whatnot, these very uber wealthy people, like wealth that we could never like conceive of. Like, do you know what it is? Like hundreds of billions of dollars. Someone like Elon Musk, as an example. That's a lot of freaking money. Like, it is also, for all intents and purposes, an inconceivable amount of money, right? I mean, like, $1 billion is a lot of freaking money. Hundreds of billions is just absurd. But the point I'm making is that, like, they have so much money that they think, like, because they know what the effects are, right? They know what they're doing. The studies by ExxonMobil and, Shell and all these other companies acknowledge what they're doing. They know exactly what's happening. These CEOs and the companies are very much aware. They just think that they're going to be insulated. They just think that it's not going to affect them. Because by the time it does, they've got their golden parachute. In their minds, they're already good. It doesn't matter. I've got enough money to own the world 3 times over. I don't care. I've got enough money to own the world 3 times over. I genuinely do not care. I can buy, in their head, they can just buy anything and live wherever, buy whatever it is that they think that they'll need. They think that they can obtain it at the snap of a finger because they're so wealthy and so powerful that's what they believe. With 1 billion, I could pay my rent. 1 million. That's a lot. That's a lot. If every person had $1 billion, if every person had $1 billion, like, no one would ever need to work. Like, what, you could never waste $1 billion in your lifetime. They act like they're God's chosen people who deserve it all, and they're discussing a need to be taken down a peg or 12. Yeah. A peg or 12.
Marjorie Taylor Greene wants Republicans to know that you don't need to be watching the news. You don't need to be paying attention to the headlines. Don't look at all of the horrible things happening with Donald Trump and, the evidence getting filed in lawsuits that the media is talking about. It's a drain. Instead, she says, don't put your faith in that. Put your faith in God. Here is what Marjorie Taylor Greene had to say late last week on Jack Posobiec's podcast. She said, "It is worrisome about what's going to happen in our future, but I always have hope. It's important that we put full faith and hope in God and not anything that we see in the headlines and not anything that we see happening in the news. Our real hope needs to be in God, and Jesus Christ is my Savior, and I know He's yours as well, and God has plans much bigger than this. I believe in the American people also, Jack. I believe their power is much bigger than mine. I'm only one member of Congress. But the American people, when they really feel like they want to make a difference, I really believe they can." And they did. They made a difference in the 2020 election by voting Donald Trump out of office by millions of votes. I mean, they actually made their voices heard in the 2016 election. When 3 million more people chose Hillary Clinton, but Donald Trump, because of our archaic electoral college, got to be president anyway. So the American people, Marjorie, have already spoken. They've spoken multiple times, and they've said, we don't want this SOB in office. But let's get back to God for a minute.
Not my Savior.
Because you're telling everybody, you're telling your conservatives, like, hey, please ignore all the horrible stuff. God's got a plan. If you believe in God, and it's fine if you do, as long as you're not forcing it upon anybody else.
Hey, Lucian, how's it going?
Believe all you want. But if you believe in God and you look at what's happening to Donald Trump right now, you kind of almost have to believe that this is justice. This is God's justice. This man who is on tape. I mean, the Access Hollywood tape.
This is part of God's plan, right? I was going to go with, like, this is all just part of God's plan, right? I wasn't going to go that route. Trump is my savior. I wasn't going to go that route. I was going to take the route more like, hey, what's happening to him is God's plan, right? This is His will, right?
Tape. The things he has bragged about, the horrible things he has done. Don't you think, Marjorie, that maybe if there is a God, This is him finally saying, all right, I'm going to handle this guy now. Like, that's what it seems like to me. If I were a firm believer in a higher power, I would believe that what's happening right now to Donald Trump is 100% what a higher power says. This is your comeuppance.
Right, but the problem is that they don't they don't care. They'll perform like when it comes to like these fundamentalists, they'll perform like Olympic levels of mental gymnastics to basically justify anything and everything. So it's like Christianity and the Bible is literally meaningless. I just noticed the mic isn't blue anymore. Oh, mine? Yeah, I need to replace the little foam guy. The retconning the Bible, exactly. Because at the end of the day, they don't really give a shit about the Bible, right? Like when it really comes down to it, they don't give a shit about the Bible. They just use it as a weapon.
And Marjorie, if you've read the Bible as you claim to be Jesus Christ is your savior, you read that Bible. You see what happens to people like Donald Trump. I've actually read it. I went to Catholic school for a portion of my youth. I went to Sunday school as an altar server. Trust me, I've put in more time in church than I'm willing to bet you have, Marjorie. And I know from whence I speak. God loves to punish sinners. It's kind of one of his favorite things to do. I mean, if you've read the Old Testament, hell, that's all he did, right? Like just smite, pillar of salt here or there, all of that. So if you believe in that, then you also kind of, like I said, have to believe that this is God's judgment coming down on Donald Trump. That's why he's facing all these problems. God's not testing him, right? I mean, he's not Jesus Christ. He's not.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They can twist themselves into pretzels into saying that, right? They can twist themselves into pretzels and say that this is just a trial of God, for the anointed chosen one, right? It's nonsense. Trump cannot use Pence for religious votes anymore. He doesn't need them. He doesn't need them. He's got the evangelical vote, right? The radical, fundamentalists are pretty much in line with him. And either way, it doesn't really matter because when he wins the primary, they're just gonna fall. They're just gonna fall in line and vote for him anyways. Do you think that their Christian morality, is gonna stop them from voting for this? No. Trump taught them that being caught lying doesn't matter. Exactly. Evil Maverick, thank you for the follow. Welcome. Don't matter to them.
A martyr for us. He is a sinner, and this is what God does. So you can try to wrap yourself in religion all you want. You're ignoring, obviously, the big parts of it. Not just about punishing the sinners, but about, helping those in need, because you've never done that. But you also need to stop telling your flock to ignore the evidence against Donald Trump, which of course is what is captivating the headlines. You're telling them to ignore reality and embrace this fantasy version of God that is definitely not in the Bible.
But that's the whole premise, right? The whole premise is to believe in a fantasy land, a fantasy story from a fantastical book. How is that any different? Right?
Claiming that he is somehow going to protect the sinner and punish the innocent people. Because I can promise you, that's not what the God in the Bible ever did. Hey everyone, this is Aspen.
Aspen.
And did you know?
By the way, Aspen's huge. I saw a video of him more recent. That doggy is huge. Alright, good memes. I was gonna do this story, but I don't think we have time. I don't think we have time. So basically, the TLDR of this video is: will climate change pop the housing bubble? Possibly. Climate change is gonna have a massive impact. I mean, look at Florida, look at California, on how housing is gonna go, because these places are incredibly expensive. but also climate change is heavily affecting both of these areas. Like the housing, in Florida is just it's just untenable. The housing in Florida is explosively expensive, and once people realize that Florida is going to be effectively uninhabitable, that's all going to pop. The question is when, right? The question is when is that kind of like how do I put this mass knowledge going to spread enough so that a good amount of people are going to realize, holy crap, I'm in a basically uninhabitable area. I need to go now. And who are you going to sell it to? Who are you going to sell that house to when everybody starts becoming aware of the situation, right? You can't sell. It's the whole meme. Who am I going to sell this to? Aquaman? Exactly. Thank you, this Steve guy. You read my mind. So a lot of people, and it may not happen now, may not happen in 5 years, but we're talking decades down the line. People are going to be left holding the bag. That's why I live in the middle of the continent, 93 meters above sea level. Right, but like the housing, the point being is the housing in Florida is ridiculous. It's unaffordable. I cannot afford to live in Florida. It's just not a thing that I can do. Even with both of us working full-time working, we just cannot. That's the reason why we had to go. We just can't live there. What's going to happen when everyone starts to get that, just... If it's Jason Momoa Aquaman, then that'd be cool. Fair enough. So that's kind of like the gist of this video, to kind of answer that question. I haven't seen it, but that's kind of like what my comments were going to be on it. If you guys want to check this out, I'm going to post the video here because we don't have that much time. Plus my throat's starting to give out, so... All right, so we got the update on the officers who were involved in George Floyd's murder. I believe this is it, right? That's the last officer. Minneapolis officer sentenced to nearly 5 years. Former Minneapolis officer Tao was sentenced on Monday to 4 to 3/4 years in prison for aiding and abetting manslaughter in the 2020 killing of George Floyd, a black man whose neck was pinned to the ground by another officer's knee, Derek Chauvin, during a botched arrest. For a fake $20 bill that, to this day, till this day, we don't even know if that ended up even being true. I think every guy has a secret crush on Momoa. True. The sentence meted out by a Hennepin County District Judge was more than the 4.25 years requested by the Attorney General. So damn. That's nice. The sentence will run concurrently with the 3.5 years Tao received on a federal conviction for violating his civil rights. Cahill in May found Thao guilty of 1 count of aiding and abetting manslaughter in the 2nd degree for his role in Floyd's death. A 9-year veteran of the police force was the 4th and final officer sentenced in the killing. That's right. Okay, so this is the final one. I didn't intend on doing any malice or try to hurt anyone. That was never my intent. I did the best that I thought that I could. Well, no, because you didn't stand up to somebody that was literally killing that person. You didn't stand up to the fucking killer. Neither of you did. Neither of you did. Then your thoughts suck, dude. Right. Derek Chauvin, a white officer captured on cell phone video. And like there was people literally saying that you're going to kill this person. It wasn't there like a testimony from an EMT who was like, "Hey, I think something's wrong here." And yet the other guys just sat there and tried to keep the crowd at bay. While this dude's killing George Floyd. Derek Chauvin, a white officer captured on cell phone video kneeling on Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes on May of 2020. May 25th of 2020 was found guilty of murder. In 2021, Dow held back a small crowd of bystanders while Chauvin and 2 other officers subduing Floyd, who police suspected of using a counterfeit $20 bill. Death sentence, folks. Death sentence. The recent Big Joel video about Minneapolis police is so good. It was on. If it wasn't on video, it'd be ignored. 100%. 100%. The Killing United wave protests of racism and police brutality across the United States and around the world. Large Total did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The 2 other officers on the scene restrained Floyd's knees and buttocks while Chauvin knelt at his neck. Lane and Crewing last year pleaded guilty in the state court of aiding and abetting second-degree manslaughter. Lane was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison, and Kewen was sentenced to 3 years. At a federal trial last year, Kewen and Lane were also found guilty of violating Floyd's civil rights. Lane was sentenced to 2.5 years and Kewen to 3 years in federal prison to run concurrently with the state sentence. Chauvin was sentenced to 22.5 years for unintentional second-degree murder of Floyd. Last year, he received a concurrent sentence of 21 years of prison in federal charges for violating Floyd's civil rights. The correct response was to get the guy kneeling on the neck of the victim in the head to get him to stop doing it. Right, like, you don't sit there and then just, like, do what the guy tells you and keep people away. Like, you're clearly seeing this guy put his knee on somebody's neck. Like, you don't have to be an expert, which supposedly these people know what they're doing, but you don't have to be an expert to be like, "Hey, how long have you been kneeling on this guy's neck? Why are you kneeling on this guy's neck?" That's the first question that should run through your head. Like, whoa, 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 why are you kneeling on his neck, bro? Like, if you need help restraining him, just put the cuffs on him. There's like 4 of you. There's literally 4 of you. Put the cuffs on him, and that's it. And get him medical aid. If he's like, because he was clearly asking for medical aid. That's why these evil cops are in jail now. Yep. But yeah, the final update on this one, I can't help but think of Valde, where they were sitting around for nearly an hour holding parents back doing shit. Right, but you know, a fake $20 bill with 4 or 5 of them on top of one guy, that's when they're all big and strong, right? That's when they're all big and strong and tough. But when like push comes to shove, where they actually needed to go in there and help and save and like actually save kids and actually do something in an active scenario, they did fuck all. Absolutely useless. We're gonna run through this one really quickly. TLDR, tomorrow, if you live in Ohio, listen up. Or if you know people that live in Ohio, listen up. There's gonna be a ballot measure. Vote no on issue 1. So basically, it's a Republican effort to make things harder to pass. So basically, the end game is to make it harder to pass protections for abortion rights and other things. Evil cops and Uvalde cops betrayed everyone. Yeah, funny. It keeps happening, right? It's almost like they're not there to protect and serve you. Well, in fact, the Supreme Court said so as much. It's almost like cops don't really prevent crime. A-Bond with 100 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It's because they're trained that their that their safety is paramount, and it's implied that protecting yourself is worth ending other people's lives. Yep. Also, Alio, thank you for the 6 biddies. I don't know if I said thank you, but just in case. They don't prevent crime, they protect capital. Yep. So TLDR, I think that if you live in Ohio or know people, make sure tomorrow, yeah, ballot initiatives, this one here, issue 1, it's a no. It's a no-go. The SCOTUS is corrupt. Yeah, but the SCOTUS has argued this even before the current iteration of the Supreme Court. So just to be clear, they've made this argument before. All right. So yeah, this is a sneaky way of trying to make, of trying to make it harder to pass abortion reproductive protections. So the TLDR issue 1 on Ohio tomorrow, no. It's a no. It's a no from me, folks. So make sure that if you know people that live in Ohio, or if you live in Ohio, tomorrow there's an election for this. All right, let's do a good meme. All right, let's do a good meme. Can we do a good meme? Yeah, I think so.
So you recently said the election is what it is. You said all those theories that were put out did not prove to be true. So can we just put this to bed so you don't have to be asked about this a million more times? Yes or no, did Donald Trump lose the 2020 election?
Whoever puts their hand on the Bible on January 20th every 4 years is the winner. And I don't think the election, and I've pointed out in that same quote, and I've said this from the very beginning, when they changed the rules for COVID, I think that was wrong. I think some of those changes were unconstitutional. When they do mass mail ballots, I think that's wrong. I think ballot harvesting is wrong. I think the Zuckerbucks were wrong. I think the fact that the FBI was working with Facebook and these other tech companies to censor the Hunter Biden story was unconstitutional. When they do mass mail ballots, I think that's wrong.
Why is it wrong, though? Hold on. Stop. Whoa. Chill. My dude. What is the problem with mail-in ballots? Like, at no point has any Republican described the actual issue with mail-in votes. Except for conspiracy theories about how Democrats are like stuffing ballots through the mail-in method that were never proven. No, there's no evidence to any of these claims that the Democrats were cheating by stuffing mail-in ballots. It's just a thing that never happened. It is delusional. So what's the problem with mail-in ballots? They never describe the issue. They just say, well, too much mail-in ballots. Why? Why is that a problem? Because it leads to cheating, ? Okay, where's the evidence for that? I watched 2,000 Mules. Whatever. That's an awful long yes or no response. When I see this guy, do I see an ineffective Hitler? I mean, yes and no. He's done some things in Florida.
I think ballot harvesting is wrong.
Okay, what's the problem with it, though? Articulate the issue. Would you be fine with eliminating ballot harvesting for both parties? And what exactly is the problem? Articulate the issue. Otherwise, why should anybody care?
The Zuckerbucks were wrong.
I don't know what the Zuckerbucks are, but I think it's a conspiracy theory about how like people are being paid to work in elections. How election workers were paid gift cards or something like that. But I don't know if there was any impropriety that was ever found. So I don't know what that means. The problem is that Democrats have more voters. So yeah, you can't have more people voting. Gotcha.
I think the fact that the FBI was working with Facebook and these other tech companies to censor the Hunter Biden story.
Well, that's stretching it. I think that the FBI made I think that the FBI made comments to a lot of social media companies saying that, you know, there's going to be a lot of misinformation coming out. And furthermore, wasn't it like the Trump actual administration at the time actually asking, you know, Twitter and whatnot to do things on their behalf? Society reporters are asking questions, equal opportunity to vomit as many propagandic talking points without no pushback. Like, I'm doing the pushback because it's necessary, because it's, you know, we're 47 seconds in and it's so much bullshit. Also, yes, it doesn't have to be, you don't have to swear on the Bible. That's true. We have mail-in ballots and have like a 0.00006% fraud rate. Correct. So there's no problem. They're just making this shit up. There's no problem with the mail-in system. You can't, there's no, like, they can't articulate the issue because it doesn't exist. There is actually no evidence, like you said.
Wrong. And so I don't think it was the perfect election. I remember after a lot of the media was saying this is the most secure election in history. How could it be the most secure with those millions of mail ballots going out? On the same time, at the time.
What are you talking about? What millions of mail ballots? Were there fake ballots? No. Is he talking about like people who received ballots? If you receive a mail-in ballot because, you know, you have like an automatic system to have your ballot sent, and it got to you incorrectly or you got an extra one incorrectly, you received a ballot. It doesn't mean you cast a ballot, okay? These are two separate actions. Receiving a mail-in ballot, or let's say you move, and you get two mail-in ballots, maybe one at your old location, and maybe now you get a new one. You can't cast the two ballots, right? You will be caught, and you will go to jail. Do not do that. The issue is they want it to be harder for poor folks to vote. It's taking, yes, correct. Anything that makes it easier to vote is a no-go for these people.
Time after the election, they were talking about Maduro stealing votes on the voting machines or whatever, and none of those theories proved to be true. But here's the issue that I think is important for Republican voters to think about. Why did we have all those mail votes? Because of Trump turned the government over to Fauci. They embrace lockdown.
What? Yeah, dude. The reason why there's so many mail-in votes is because of Fauci. Got it. Makes perfect fucking sense. Listen, even if that was the case, like because of the pandemic, and you still haven't articulated the problem. Okay. You still haven't articulated the issue with mail-in votes. Even if we take that equation out, even if we take that variable out of the pandemic, if it was the case that we had more mail-in ballots, and were they fraudulent? Fauci's not in charge of the voting. Yeah, he's trying to piece together the story that because Fauci was in power, he was in charge of the COVID response, that he urged the lockdowns, which to my knowledge there was no federal lockdowns ? So that never happened. So I don't even know if this makes sense, but this is what he's trying to paint. So because of all the lockdowns that were ordered by Fauci somehow, question mark, citation needed, there was a request for more mail-in ballots, which led to the question mark fraudulent million votes, question mark. Yeah, none of this makes any sense, because it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Even if we didn't have a pandemic and there was a ton more mail-in ballots, so what? So what? Where's the fraud? Where's the fraud? Where's the evidence to show that this is a problem? He wants power so goddamn bad. True.
They did the CARES Act, which funded mail-in ballots.
And so, question mark, where's the problem? You have to articulate with evidence that there's like some massive fraud because of the new, because of the increased amount of mail-in ballots. You can't just say these things, my dude. Okay? It's saying these things doesn't make it true.
Across the country. Donald Trump signed that bill that funded the mail ballots that all the Republicans have been so concerned about. And also with the censorship of the Hunter Biden. That was Donald Trump's FBI.
Wait, whoa, I thought it was at the behest of the Biden crime family. Oh, shit. Damn. Oh, man. The memes. Federal recommendation to lockdown because recommendations are immutable. Directives now true. And never happened, by the way. There was no federal lockdown. So because Trump had 11 rallies during 2020 and still lost, Trump bought a lot of our votes. I'm back and had an appointment. What did I miss? Fauci single-handedly cheated the election. That's the argument being presented to us right now. Fauci single-handedly manipulated the election of the United States in 2020. All right.
That was working with that. He didn't have control over his own government. So me as the nominee, we will not let them run circles around us. If there is Florida, we ban ballot harvesting, right? I think that's what you should do. If there is ballot harvesting that's allowed in like Nevada, we are going to do it too. We're not going to fight with one hand tied behind our...
But you do that. Republicans do ballot harvesting. What are you talking about?
...our backs. And so I think all of those issues were very problematic. But at the end of the day, you know, Donald Trump helped facilitate that whole set of circumstances.
Okay, but respectfully, you did not clearly answer that question. And if you...
Oh, man. The problem with, like, these, like, you know, reporters is that they're so, like... They feel like they need to be very, like, civil. I would have stopped this guy, like, so many times in this 2 minutes. Like, as I've done right now, as I've been, like, pause-ending this, like, 2 minutes, I would have had to stop him. Like, whoa, stop. Whoa, stop. What do you mean by this? You know, like, you know, 2 minutes in and she finally is like, okay, hold on. Respectfully, you never answered the question.
You can't give a yes or no on
Because-
whether or not...
And, like, no pushback to all the bullshit he just said. Literally. No pushback whatsoever. He said, like, a bunch of bullshit, and no counter, you know, no counter argument, nothing.
not Trump lost, then how
Well,
can...
of course he lost.
Trump lost the 2020 election.
Of course,
Okay.
Joe Biden's the president. But the issue is, I think what people in the media and elsewhere, they want to act like somehow this was just like the perfect election. So I don't think it was a good run election, but I also think Republicans didn't fight back. You've got to fight back.
They had 60 plus cases, dude. They lost every single one of those cases, save like one. And again, he's trying to say on one hand that there's nothing that you know, Biden won fair and square, while also simultaneously saying that there was problems with the election, while not being able to articulate what those problems are with any evidence behind them, behind the claims. Oh, I need to make this an emote. I need to make this an emote. He has the same demon eyes as Kenneth Copeland. True. Maybe I could make this into an emote. Hmm. There we go. I'll work on this. Oh man. Yeah, I think I could make this into an emote. It's getting scary, the freeze frame. Yeah, it's unsettling, but I think it's a perfect emote, right? All right.
Back when that is happening, and you shouldn't have provided all the money to fund the mail-in ballots.
So Trump, at the behest of Fauci, funded mail-in ballots, which caused the improprieties in the 2020 election. Therefore, Fauci interfered in the election? Question mark. Okay, cool, got it. See what I mean? Yeah, you can send it to me via Whispers. Yeah, just send it to me via Whispers. I saved a screenshot of his here. Yeah, just send it to me. Yeah, and here's the we just heard it from directly from his words. So Governor DeSantis rejected Donald Trump's claim that he was a true winner of the 2020 election, his most forceful comments to date on the matter. I don't know about that. He kind of was like sitting on the fence here. On one hand saying that the election was fine, but also saying that it was run improperly. So how could you say that? Whatever. Point is, we heard him. We heard him. Really quickly, we're just gonna fly through this one. Ohio, Republicans are trying to do away with ranked choice voting. Which is really crappy because we should be expanding ranked choice voting, not trying to take it down. But of course, Republicans are leading an effort there. Senate Bill 137 would ban ranked choice voting in primaries and other elections in Ohio, and the city, village, or chartered county, summit, or I can't pronounce that, that uses ranked choice voting would be ineligible for state funding until repealing that system. No local government in Ohio uses ranked choice voting, although University Heights briefly considered that process upon recommendation by its Charter Review Commission. Proponents of ranked choice voting, which has existed in various iterations since the 1850s, argue that it can lead to large increase in voter turnout and minority representation. I think that ranked choice voting should be adopted more widespread. Alio, thank you for the 10 biddies. I appreciate that. So TLDR, Republicans are trying to do away with that in Ohio. No surprises there. The judge assigned to January 6 case is a tough punisher of Capitol riots. Cuyahoga? Did I get that right? Cuyahoga? The federal judge assigned to the election fraud case against former President Trump stood out as one of the toughest punishers of rioters who stormed the U.S. Capitol in an attack fueled by Trump's baseless claims of a stolen election. She has also ruled against him before. District Judge Tanya Chutkan, a former assistant public defender who was nominated to the bench by Obama, oversee the case accusing Trump of trying to overturn the 2020 election loss. Chutkan has often handed down prison sentences to the January 6th riot cases that are harsher than Justice Department prosecutors recommended. So this is a good sign. She's rejected his arguments in the other cases that hold privilege over documents from the administration, even after President Biden has cleared the way for the National Archive to turn the papers over. She wrote that Trump could not claim his privilege exists in perpetuity. In a memorable line from a ruling, Chutkan wrote, "Presidents are not kings, and a plaintiff is not president." Trump will make his first court appearance on Thursday before the magistrate judge, Maxilla Obadiah. Such judge handles initial matters in federal cases. So, we'll see how this plays out for Trump, especially in an important case like this. The entire book needs to be thrown at him if he's found guilty. No doubt about it. If he's found guilty, the entire book needs to be thrown at him, and we need a judge who would not be afraid to make an example out of this guy. So that's definitely something to keep an eye out. As more details unfold, as the case goes on, we'll definitely be keeping an eye out. And if he is found guilty, hopefully this judge will throw the entire book at him. The Y in Cuyahoga rhymes with pie. So Cuyahoga? Or Cuyahoga, maybe? Perfect. All right. Got it. Nailed it. All right. So in another good news, Wisconsin governor pushes for the prosecution of the state's 2020 fake electors. Again, this is a incredibly important thing. All of these fuckers need to be held to account. Got it. It's a Midwestern thing. Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers on Friday argued that the 10 people who participated in the fake elector scheme in his state to an attempt to overturn the presidential election should be charged for their actions. Yes, good. There has to be accountability, Evers said after a bill signing ceremony, according to the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel. What they did was wrong, and so I'm hoping somebody will pick up the banner here because this has to happen. Wisconsin was not the only state, however, to face attempts by fake electors to overturn their state. And again, I was listening to the Five Clowns on Fox, and they were literally saying oh, well, this fake elector scheme, bro. I don't see the big deal. Okay, I don't see the big deal. They just tried to insert themselves, and nothing happened. This is fine. Everything's good. No, bro, they tried to overturn the election, dude. Republicans in 6 other states that Trump lost participated in the scheme: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, and Pennsylvania. Last month, 16 people were charged by the Michigan Attorney General for their attempts to change the state election results. They weren't the duly elected and qualified actors, and each of the defendants knew it. They carried out these actions with the hopes and belief that the electoral votes of Michigan's 2020 election would be awarded to the candidate of their choosing instead of the candidate that Michigan voters actually chose. This is deeply disturbing. All of these motherfuckers, all of them, all of these Republicans, all of these, people who participated tangentially, assisted them logistically, all of them should be prosecuted. This is not something that should be taken lightly. And for every fucking conviction, the entire book should be thrown at them, and then some, to show that this is not okay. Because if not, these fuckers will do it again. These fuckers will do it again. So many traitors, true. And Mark Levine is screaming because Trump's butt's in trouble. 8 fake electors also received immunity deals in Georgia in an investigation into the 2020 election meddling. The whole group of 16 met about a month after the election at the state capitol and signed a certificate saying Trump won the election and they were Georgia's duly elected and qualified electors. Eve's argument comes just days after the former president was indicted by a federal grand jury on charges related to his efforts to remain in power after the election, after losing the 2020 election. Good. I hope all of these fuckers are charged and prosecuted. not just in Georgia and Wisconsin and the other states as well. Michigan, Nevada, New Mexico, Pennsylvania, so on and so forth. I mean, like, they could have overturned the election. In fact, they tried to, especially in the states that they tried to push this, the states that they tried to make this scheme. Absolutely, they could have. Thankfully, Arizona, yes. Thankfully, this dubious understanding of how, the system works didn't work. But thankfully, the people that needed to fold didn't, and this did not succeed. But yeah, they should absolutely prosecute all these fuckers, all of them, and for every guilty one, fuck them. Throw the entire book at them and then some. Shit like this should not be allowed to stand, period. The same with Trump. If Trump ends up being found guilty, especially with this 2020 election crime that he's being accused of, yeah, throw the entire book at him. And the fact that that judge is one of the judges that was extremely harsh on the January 6th rioters, the insurrectionists, that hopefully is a good sign as to what could happen to him if he gets convicted. Hopefully. All right, folks. I do have to get going. I am very hungry, and my voice is done. My voice is done. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be at 100%. But yeah, my voice is done for today, folks. Thank you guys so much for hanging out in the chat. Thank you, Michael Hassler. Thank you, Heat, for moderating in the chat. Thank you, Alia, for being in there. Twitch.tv/Alia Share. Go give them a follow. Thank you, Conscious Canuck, Firefly, Alio, Sharpie Diesel, Wolf Glenn. Make sure I got everybody. Heat, the Steve guy. Thank you so much. I appreciate you hanging out in chat. Evil Maverick, thank you for the follow. I appreciate it. Lucian, thank you so much for hanging out in the chat. I appreciate it. A-Bond, the Simulacra, I appreciate it. Michael Hassler, thank you. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Let's see. Make sure I got everybody. Hambalus, thank you so much for hanging out in chat. As always, folks, we'll be back tomorrow around 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Echo Wrestle Dragon, thank you so much. I appreciate that. I need a band record. No, you don't. I don't have a band record. Folks, if you enjoy the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. I appreciate it. It does help this channel out. And if you can't help this channel monetarily, as Michael Hassler just posted, go to the YouTube, hit the big red subscribe button. It's free. It really does help us out. I appreciate it. We're at 246 subscribers, so we're almost there. Almost at 250. Which is almost halfway to 500, all right? So we're making progress. One little subscriber at a time on the YouTube, all right? I appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for the support. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Thank you guys for all the support. I appreciate it. Thank you. See ya. All right, folks, we're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.